Welcome to Edge of Intelligence, where we explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping the future of work and decision making, sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. I'm your host, Carl Owen, an AI consultant helping organizations unlock real value from smart systems. Today, I'm excited to welcome Beth White, the CEO and founder of MeBeBot, an AI-powered digital assistant focused on transforming employee experiences in HR, IT, and beyond. Beth, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me today, Carl. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. You've got a deep background in HR, and now you're leading a tech company at the intersection of AI and employee experience. What pain points or opportunity sparked the idea for MeBeBot?
Yeah, it's great. I think every founder of a company has a story, and I do too. And my story really started from a place of what I saw as inefficient and not productive with inside workplaces. So, as you mentioned, I did start my career in HR. In those years, over 15, that I was helping to find talent, bring them inside companies, develop people in their careers. There's just a lot of different processes within inside the workplace experience that are frustrating to employees, and it has just exacerbated over the years as companies started to launch a lot more different types of internal cloud supported tools, etc. I actually left the HR profession having been frustrated that processes were so antiquated and that the role itself became very administratively heavy. And instead, I really focused my career for many years on developing technologies and solutions and selling into the retail tech world, where retailers are all about how do we connect to our customer better? How do we provide them lots of different channels to purchase items? And how do we make their buying experience more seamless? And so really, MeBeBot is the intersection of my background of learning how things are inefficient with inside workplaces, but learning from a flip side how the consumer experience can be better. And then how do you take that and make it into an employee experience? And that's all about what does it take to make employees more successful, more productive within their roles within inside companies. And a lot of times it may be as simple as removing some of the friction and noise that's within inside their lives and organizations. And that's the huge opportunity that AI has today with inside workplaces, is just to do just that, to help streamline things that have been out of date or not really observed. Sometimes it is just a simple process that needs to be updated. And sometimes the technology comes in to really take over and, leverage the beauty of AI that can get things out of the way that are cumbersome and manual for other people with inside organizations, like employee support, for example.
That's awesome. When you first started building, how clear was the vision for MeBeBot as an AI first platform, or did that evolve with the needs of your early customers?
It started from day one. We became a native AI solution from day one. Really, the impetus was I started seeing chatbots pop up on my bank's website, on AT&T's website, for example, and I, as a consumer, could get immediate support to my needs through this chatbot interface. And really, that's when the idea came to fruition: is how do we take and put chatbots that provide this singular new user interface for employees with inside companies. And really, I think it was the moment that Slack became very adopted with inside companies. We had these different types of collaborative workspaces that allowed for applications to be installed, that really the practicality of taking an AI chatbot and bringing it to life became the reality, is seeing MeBeBot be, first and foremost, an app in the Slack app marketplace that became this new interface within the flow of work for employees. We also had an app inside Skype. So we go all the way back to Skype for Business before even Teams existed. Because at that point in time, companies were using Skype more for internal chat, and we wanted to be part of that interface, again, to make it very easy and seamless for employees to know where MeBeBot is. And so they have that type of experience like we do as consumers, to get quick answers to their questions, through leveraging the chatbot technology, which was in its infancy, in that era. It was all natural language processing and machine learning. We were leveraging a lot of the same technologies that, are the basis for Siri and Alexa and Google Home devices. And frankly, we never got in trouble for this, but there was a time where we called ourselves, MeBeBot is like the Alexa for the workplace, even though we were never a physical device like Alexa devices can be. We were using this, it was just a way to build the analogy to get people to understand the power of what the technology could do for them with inside companies.
Pioneer.
I guess at just taking a business application, just knowing business problems is really the key to, everyone's on the AI bandwagon now. As we know, generative AI and ChatGPT really reshaped, how all of us think about it. But, it's really coming about it from a problem standpoint first. What are those pain points with inside organization that are ugly and need to be fixed? And then how do you then bring this type of technology to go solve them? That's really what's going to be most meaningful to companies today.
Well, let's give our listeners a snapshot. What does MeBeBot do today, and how do your customers typically use it?
Yes, we've grown up quite a bit since 2018-19 when we were calling ourselves like the Alexa for the workplace to where we are today, which is one AI solution that's designed to automate the searching of content with inside companies, meaning people have documents everywhere. There's so much knowledge with inside companies, but it's all in dispersed systems. So MeBeBot goes out and ingests the content that's most relevant that employees want to know about and brings it into our AI platform, leveraging different types of frontier models that we've built with inside MeBeBot. We leverage RAG principles. For your viewers, it's retrieval augmented generation, as well as some proprietary models that we've also built so that we can say, hey, this type of content, like what's in an employee handbook, may need to be behind what we call guardrails. And so we've built a whole framework and structure to take content and give the business the authority and agency over their content so that they can determine that some of it needs to be more protected, meaning we want to give prescriptive answers to employee support needs versus other kinds of content like your company branding guide that may be able to be delivered to employees without guardrails because employees can query it just directly. So we provide a really unique framework that allows for employee support but gives the business control over what kinds of content we ingest, how we deliver that information to an employee, and oversight to see the actual results as well, which is what's unusual in market. You flip on a switch for Microsoft Copilot and all you know is that Copilot's going to go out and start pulling all sorts of documents. Many of it's out of date, and some of it could be very difficult for an employee if they get an answer from a document that's so out of date and they follow a process. And then they're, at a loss because they've either, done something wrong now because of it. So it's a detriment to their position or their role. And so we want to prevent that. We want to really provide trusted, support against content that's most meaningful to employees.
Sounds great. Do you find most of your customers come in with a clear sense of how they'll use the platform, or do they discover more value as they implement it?
We meet companies where they are. There's just a lot of different people at different stages of their AI journey, as we like to call it. Some companies, will give us a call and say, we just want to have a chatbot for our employees so that they can ask all those different types of questions. And a lot of times we do education, help ask good questions to understand, well, what kinds of information do you think would help? How do you handle employee support today? Where do you store this information? We really work with them in a sense of solutioning too, because it may be a company that has a very lean team and they need to get spun up with a solution very quickly, and we can provide that framework and reference to them to give them an ROI result over, hey, we've displaced 100 plus questions that would have gone into the IT help desk this week by leveraging MeBeBot instead. So it's a lot about what are their goals, how do they see, technology supporting them, what do they want to get out of a solution, and then we can take our solution and essentially customize it for their particular needs as well.
And when it comes to the deployment, are most clients able to self-manage the rollout, or do they lean on partners or internal IT to guide the process?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, luckily the interface for the employee for MeBeBot is an AI chatbot that can install seamlessly inside Microsoft Teams, inside Slack. There's a SharePoint dedicated app that also installs. All these install either by, sometimes business users that may not even need to be IT, but under 15 minutes. So that's one piece of it, is just simply do the installation of how the employee is going to ask the question. We do have an SMS text messaging interface that may require IT support to get that set up because it is more complex. And at times IT is asked to do this because they frankly own those those systems, right? So they have to authorize MeBeBot to be in there. Then the second step of the product is the AI platform, which is a web-based solution. So we can deploy, every customer has their own tenant to our product, which can be deployed to them specific to their needs within an hour. And then it's really a matter of, okay, do you have company content that we can ingest and help populate some of these kinds of questions we believe should be more prescriptive, more behind guardrails for employees? Or do you just have other kinds of content that you want MeBeBot to serve up? So today we provide more of a customer support guided experience. We don't charge for it. We typically meet with our customers once a week and we just help them figure out how to, decide on what to do with content, edit answers to questions to fit their business. And as soon as they're done with that process, they can go live. The traditional process is usually under 1 month to 2 months. If an organization is highly complex, which means they have people across the globe and they have a lot of global content, meaning information needs to be delivered differently to employees in India because they follow different types of processes, procedures, labor laws, payrolling, etc., then that may make it a little bit of additional work and lengthen the time to go live. But it's a team approach, and the solution is designed to be very easy to use by non-technical individuals, and again, designed to be launched in just a couple weeks to a couple months.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, how do you handle your clients' data privacy or security concerns?
Yeah, well, one of the steps we've gone through is to gain SOC 2 Type 2 certification so that they know that we're a solution that's been vetted. We cloud host our solution in Microsoft Azure, which also gives a lot of enterprise businesses who are our main customers the understanding that we are part of the Microsoft ISV program as well. So we've been vetted by Microsoft. And then the data security and privacy is, we have single sign-in access to our product. We minimally touch PII information. In fact, all we really see at times is employee email addresses. And then the information that's provided back to companies about their utilization of MeBeBot is provided in an aggregate form. So it doesn't call out this person asked this question. We see that information as needing to be private, and most of our customers respect that and really appreciate that methodology. And again, as we go down a path to doing more with AI, meaning working with AI agents and agentic AI, workflow automation does require us to identify more individuals within companies in order to help facilitate a process or a flow. And that's usually where we meet companies again in different places. Some are not ready for that. They may not want an integration to a Workday or to a SAP or Oracle, and others may be there and they may be understanding how we handle their employees' PII information. But we're very forward thinking about it. We have data privacy agreements in place with companies to give them the assurance, and we are GDPR, CCP, the California Consumer Protection authorization as well. So
you report some impressive ROI metrics, call deflection, cost savings, usage accuracy. That stuff I love that stuff. But internally, how are your clients measuring success?
those are some of the metrics that they are using to measure success. So first and foremost, we have the dashboard that they can visibly see every day when they log into our solution that shows, how many questions MeBeBot answered on a given day, a week. They can, see the graphics in real time. We also show net new users interacting with MeBeBot because we want to show that we can drive toward adoption. So, and then they can also see how many employees indicated an answer was helpful versus not helpful, and even what questions were not helpful and then escalated. So those are some of the typical metrics. So it's all about utilization. How do you get MeBeBot out there so it's known and it's used? But then more importantly, how are you creating a stickiness so not only do new employees that are joining the company know and learn about MeBeBot, but it's also used during what we call moments that matter. So things like open enrollment for benefits or compliance and security training, or to make sure employees are aware of company policy changes, for example. And so we are always tracking those kinds of trends as well to ensure the success. But the main goal is to deflect from having people to have to manually respond to employee queries. And that can be tracked in a multitude of ways within companies, because some companies, may not be as sophisticated as having a help desk queue for every different group inside the company. Payroll may be an inbox, for example. But if we can show them that inbox that was fielding a lot of typical common questions has been reduced in volume, then that's a huge win. A lot of it is the time savings, that the employee is also gaining by not having to search around for forever to find information they need to do their job, right? And that's
You've
a
touched on
little
this a
harder
little
to
bit,
measure. Yeah.
yeah, you've touched on this a little bit already, but are most of them set up to analyze those trends in-house, or do you find that some need help making sense of what the data is trying to tell them?
I think most are looking for help to understand what the data is trying to tell them. There are very few companies that I think have reached that sophistication where they know what results they want to get out of AI solutions that they put in place. Most of them are gauging, where is the work shifting? Unfortunately, some companies are like, did this technology replace headcount? Do I not need people on this team? We've never come forward as a company to say, put MeBeBot in and you can, remove 3 people from this team. That's never been our mission or goal. Our goal is to shift work to allow the humans to do things that are much more challenging for the business, and we take on the roles of things that are more manual. So companies know if they're going to invest in AI, they know they need to get something out of it, and most of them are looking for the time savings. But you have to also tell them what also is important. You have to continue to talk about the solution. You have to continue to drive adoption. And so we kind of impress upon that to them. And then that accuracy point, I think, is a key one, because a lot of times people put solutions in place, but they're not measuring the results continuously. And that's a piece that people unfortunately want to roll something out, set it, and forget it. But AI doesn't really work that way. And the more people start to get their hands around the fact that there is required human supervision. I just put a post on my LinkedIn profile today about a New York Times article that was written yesterday, all the different types of job titles that are going to come about, which we've been talking about for years. that provide oversight over the AI, because that is the role of the people within inside companies, and we have to often train them of, okay, you now have this product called MeBeBot helping you, but guess what, you now have a new part of your job description, which means working with the MeBeBot team to continually train and test and make sure that the accuracy is remaining high for the employee experience. Otherwise it's not going to be utilized, right? And then it defeats the purpose of what you've put it in place to do.
Right. You mentioned a second ago about AI showing value and people wanting to see the value from what they're doing. And sometimes they have a challenge to do that. Do you see your clients asking for support in tying those insights back to broader business metrics like retention, engagement, or productivity?
They do at times if they can't monetize it. I think putting it into monetary guidelines is a good way to do that. So we have a ROI calculator tool that we use that shows, if you had 5 people previously fielding these types of questions on a daily basis for X number of hours a day, the total headcount burden for an employee, and this is my HR speak coming out, which means, not just their annual pay, but you have to think about things like, their benefits and bonuses and stock, if they have stock. Everyone has a cost. Many employees may or may not know this, but you have a cost. And so that cost differentiation is what they typically report back to the business that goes up into the financials, right? How are we able to save these business costs, or how are we able to shift these dollars to other things, which may have delayed hiring another couple people that they had slated for projected budgetary spend. So we often have to show them how they can do this methodology of tying time to money, which then either goes back into the overall, financials as an operations expense. And I'd love to see companies use it more for what did we gain with additional productivity by not having this person who's college educated answering support questions all day. Maybe they were having time to build out this type of program that was able to help generate X number of dollars of revenue for the company.
With MeBeBot, you've layered in generative AI and human-in-the-loop review. How are customers approaching the oversight and compliance for those interactions?
Yep, and that's a good point to bring up, is where does this come in and what's their role? So again, as part of our AI platform, we have a whole section called feedback within the product where several people within the customer instance become super admins, and super admins have visibility of anything that an employee indicated as not helpful. And if an employee says something is not helpful, it gives exactly the response. It shows not who asked the question, but what question was asked, what response was given, and then the business user inside the MeBeBot system can say, oh, is that question formulated well? Did I give enough information if I made it prescriptive? Or was it referencing an outdated document for some reason? And then they have the ability to make changes, so that they can either enhance an answer and make it more specific or detailed, or provide a link that references another document. And at times there's oversight that MeBeBot needs to provide. No AI solution is perfect. Anyone who does claim that is probably a little suspicious. And MeBeBot has to apply what we call training as well to our model. We may not know every different way an employee can. There's a term in the natural language processing, it was called utterances, questions people ask, queries that they ask in a natural way. So there's times where people may say things. Sometimes it's even training the AI engine to understand misspellings of words. So we do that. We actively inject training into our model on a daily basis. And we do that a lot through the feedback and insights and the outlier kind of responses that we get from employees that may indicate something was not helpful. And sometimes employees are kind of cheeky and they say something's not helpful because they may not just like the policy, for example. Like we see that happen with PTO. If people are asking about PTO, the answer is correct, but they still say not helpful because maybe they want more PTO, for example.
Gotcha. I mean, and that constant fine tuning of the model is obviously extremely important. I mean, this isn't
Yes.
something, as you know, this isn't something you can put in and leave alone. It's got to evolve over time.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the things that makes MeBeBot different is you have solutions like Copilot, which we're a Microsoft partner, but Copilot is designed to be a real generalist. And if an employee indicates something as not, giving it a thumbs down, that training data doesn't go back to the business. It goes to Microsoft. So the customer of Microsoft doesn't have visibility into what an employee thought was not helpful. Therefore, there may be a lot of things that aren't working well, but they don't know that information to do something about it. So providing transparency is the only way you're going to be able to really improve upon AI, which is required in order to sustain models as they change dramatically seems like every 6 months, 3 months, you name it, right?
Right. Do most of your clients already have an AI governance framework in place when they start with you, or is that something they build as they go?
We're getting to a point now, if you asked me that question a couple years ago, I would say no. People don't even know that they need it. Today, I think I'm hearing much more about internal AI steering committees that are associated groups of different key individuals, stakeholders from different departments. I often hear about, there is, unfortunately, a lot of the CISOs, I've talked to a lot of them, they've been put in charge of this on top of many other things that they have to do, which puts a lot of pressure on them. At times they're partnering a lot with the legal teams with inside companies that are building out some of the AI governance standards. But I would say it's in its infancy at many companies today. There's not many that have sophistications, and even if they have a framework, a lot of times their evaluation process may not be as dialed in as they would like it to be. And then, of course, how are you going to, as a company, keep up with all the AI regulation changes? And this is a whole net new world. In fact, I know of a company, I'll put a plug out there for FairNow. We have some friends over at FairNow, and they're an AI governance platform that helps companies keep up on some of the growing changes between, in the US, it's a lot of state, guidelines and regulations, and it's going to become pretty overwhelming here. And so there's solution providers that are coming forward with technology to help with that process, as well as just trying to keep up with, the growing changes between different administrations. Like we have from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, the U.S. a lot changed, as well as the EU is leading the way in more of a regulated environment.
Have you seen differences in how HR versus IT or legal approach the governance conversations?
Yes, I do. I think and this is personal opinion more than, anything more than that. HR comes from a place where compliance is drilled into your brain from day one. Don't get the company in trouble. That used to be the mantra of every HR person. It sounds kind of crazy, but most people think that HR is there to help, support employees' needs and if they have issues, as well as, health and welfare benefits, rewards, recognitions, etc. But there's a lot that's always been part of the role of HR that is compliant in nature. And so that's why I think the adoption of HR with AI technologies may have been a little bit more fearful, coming from a place of questioning versus embracing. IT, on the flip side, loves to try new technology. They're game for it. They might not know all the risks that they should be looking out for, especially if they're being a decision maker for across the business. So, my hope is that IT teams really do a better job of gathering true requirements from the various teams so they understand the gotchas, because there's no way they're going to know them all. And I do think that the CISOs and security teams within companies do have a stake in this, as well as compliance teams for sure. But there's just no way that they're going to be able to keep up with it all. So I personally believe it does take more of a team approach to kind of creating oversight and governance programs, because everyone knows their own area of the business best.
It makes sense that the employee experience varies based on how well the assistant's rolled out internally. What have you seen as the most effective strategies for driving adoption?
The most effective strategy is when there's sponsorship from the top down, right? I mean, the executive support on AI initiatives is critical. It means that whatever solution you're rolling out, whether it be MeBeBot or another type of technology, talking about it at company meetings, making it known, just like I read recently, the CEO of Amazon had a whole company town hall type meeting and laid it on the line, like AI is going to be integrated into our culture. And this is how you need to think about it, and this is how you need to go forward. Other companies may be more, we're starting to go down this path. One way we think we can provide you help to support you, employee, is to provide you a solution like MeBeBot. It has to be a lot about what's in it for the employee. I think driving adoption and utilization, what do they gain out of it? Also giving them an understanding as an employee, what information, how information that they, share with, for example, an AI chatbot assistant is being utilized by the business, so that they understand the privacy protection that they are expecting, right? Or perhaps it is a time where, hey, you're in a session now that is no longer going to be private because you've asked me to automate a workflow. I need to know who you are in order to do that, right? So I think it's a matter of giving employees as much information about the solution. They ask a lot more questions these days. A lot of times we work with our customers to produce an FAQ that goes along with the launch, but promoting it as a fun new way, and to, even gamification of it to get people to embrace it, right? Like, hey, this is something that you can use on your mobile phone, even when you're at home, and perhaps your wife is asking you, for your insurance card and you can't find it. Well, guess what? MeBeBot's there to help save the day. Help share with you where you can get that insurance card because you have a sick child that needs to go to the doctor. And so, give them reasons to, wanting to embrace it and, kind of what's in it for them, right? But it does take executive support. It takes a lot of reinforcement, and it takes a rethinking like Amazon's doing to ingrain it into the company culture.
Are there certain teams that you see struggle with adoption more than others? Maybe distributed workforces or organizations with less digital maturity?
The organizations with less digital maturity, yes, because they're used to traditional ways, like you have an issue with your computer, send an email to the help desk, or, some people in the in-office culture go to the IT team, for example, or go to an HR person's office, right? So it is a matter of, what is the company culture? What are people going to use to like how do we need to get them to rethink this a little bit? But it is, we typically work with a lot of knowledge worker companies who have employees working within technology systems, so the adoption frankly comes a little bit easier, but it is a shift in thinking.
Looking ahead, what are some of the next big areas of innovation for MeBeBot?
Well, there's a lot of talk about agentic AI and AI agents, and we really believe, if the thesis of MeBeBot is to help employees be more productive, to free up operational, waste of time and inefficiencies, then workflow automation and agents doing and performing different tasks in behalf of the employee / individual within inside of a company is our path. So working through different types of architecture to not boil the ocean and solve every problem out there, but again, looking at what are the most inefficient things that are happening within inside organizations, and how can we help companies have a out-of-the-box solution that provides them more workflow automation for different processes that are part of the employee life cycle.
Are there areas where you're actively exploring where you'd consider partnering whether that's in systems integration, behavioral design, or advanced analytics?
Oh, yes, we often talk and partner with others. In fact, we are a Microsoft, I think I mentioned, ISV partner. So that's one area that we are always continually looking and utilizing their technology, and even working with some other, ISVs within the Microsoft ecosystem. We work a lot with different consultants, people who are like yourself out there helping organizations understand how to digitally transform. We are the solution side, so we come in when it's been determined that this is a gap that could be better filled with an AI solution that helps with employee searching of content and delivering accurate answers. So consultancies are people we partner with. And then at times with integrations to different systems. I mean, there's a lot of different types of ways that you can pull data back and forth between companies. If people have intimate knowledge about a particular customer that we may be working with because they've also helped them structure other solutions within their ecosystem, we'll gladly partner, because what we do well is deliver a packaged software that helps companies have a turnkey way to launch an AI solution to support employees in the workplace quickly. And that's our bread and butter, right? And so if there's other people that do other aspects very well, we're happy to partner.
How are you guys thinking about adjacent platforms like HRIS, performance management tools, or voice interfaces?
Well, today we work with the voice interfaces as part of, what we've been building with MeBeBot has voice activation already inside our solution. We're also multilingual support as well. As far as integrations and working with other solutions, like today we work with SharePoint and Confluence and other knowledge repositories, and we can pull and ingest information into our system from those different API connections, frankly, that we have. Same thing as with HRIS data, because HRIS or HCM systems house the employee, in the old days, personnel file, right? It's their employee record. It shows everything from their hire date to their last performance date to their wage increases. Sometimes it's also the payrolling system. So if an employee has a query about, that example, what is my PTO balance, and that company is accruing PTO, and it's a field of data within one of those systems, we do extract that information, in a personalized way to that employee in those instances where MeBeBot, has acknowledged that the employee wants to be identified, so that they can get, you have 32 hours of PTO left, at this point in time that you've accrued. So the systems themselves have a lot of data within them. I've always been an advocate and hoping for more companies moving to data lakes, Fabric, meaning all that centralized data could then be queried in more of a real-time fashion for solutions like MeBeBot, without having to go through these, what I call more intricate processes, the plumbing, right? Let's just go to the lake and pull what we need from the lake, because that really serves up or Fabric, it serves up a better real-time experience that employees want when they're interacting with AI technology that's designed for support or workflows. A lot of the APIs were designed for the batch uploads of files and transfer of information overnight. So we really had to rethink how we're delivering information. And as much as people have been wanting to go to more centralized data solutions, that I'm always shocked that hasn't happened much faster in this day and age.
That's always a struggle with some of the small to mid-sized businesses. There's no one that really develops that data plan and has that level of understanding. And that's going to become more and more important as people try to roll out AI, because a
Sure.
chatbot with poor data just doesn't work very well.
That's right. It has to be real time,
Right.
and that's where, and people are concerned about it. I read a lot of publications, CIO Online always is talking about, data integrity and data being the big problem for being able to leverage more of the AI functionality that companies want to use.
For leaders who are interested in deploying conversational AI or improving employee self-service, what's one thing you wish more of them understood before they start?
It is not a magic, there's no magic button to press and have it all work immediately. I think that there is some misconception. I mean, ChatGPT did such an awesome job when it came to market with just this little box and this easy way to supposedly pull out all the secrets of the universe, right?
That's right.
And so there's just a mindset that, oh, well, we want conversational AI, we want this, we want, well, what do you want the conversation to be about? What do you want to accomplish? What's the goal of this? Well, it's just kind of like, thinking about, all their different workflows and just making it magically conversational. It does take a lot of orchestration and layers of, infrastructure to make it all seamlessly happen. But we're getting closer. I mean, I think years ago when we began, we were reflecting on this just the other day, just to do a couple different things. You had to build in code to do dispatching and dispatch to this, and it was RPA, and it wasn't really what's involved today. Having autonomous AI agents that are truly agentic and being able to reason, which we could go on and debate about that, but is just the advances in AI have just come such a long way that it's going to make it a lot more, it's going to make it easier, frankly, to do more conversational AI flows than ever before.
Agree. Well, Beth, if people want to connect with you and learn more about MeBeBot, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The best way is to go to our website, www.mebebot.com. We also follow us on LinkedIn. We post a lot on LinkedIn, as well as have a YouTube channel. We're getting a little bit more involved in Reddit. So there's a variety of different mechanisms. Used to be active on Twitter, now X, not so much anymore, but we do like to put a lot of thought leadership out there on, frankly, LinkedIn. So that's our main social channel. I'm also out there on LinkedIn, so they can feel free to find me as well.
Okay. Beth, thank you again. This has been insightful and inspiring. And to our listeners, if your organization is exploring AI but isn't sure where to begin, or if you're already deploying tools and wondering how to scale and measure them, we'd love to help you get there. This has been Edge of Intelligence. I'm Carl Owen, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Carl.
Thank you, Beth. Appreciate it.